UFC 259 is just days away, and I know all of you watching right now are excited, but I wanted to put the cherry on top of the sundae, so to speak, ahead of Saturday. Let's get the excitement to another level, and who better to help us with that than the longtime voice inside the octagon, celebrating his silver anniversary, 25 years with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Let us say hello to the legendary Bruce Buffer. Great to see you again, sir. How are you?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Michael. I'm doing great. It's an exciting week, big week.
Absolutely. So first things first, I know you got to sort of bask in it after UFC 258, but
yeah,
25 years, man, you've been a part of like every wave of the sport and the company, like from the negative side to the government trying to step in and paint negative pictures to the Zuffa era, the Ultimate Fighter, the Sale, Rousey, Connor, Fox, and now ESPN. The list goes on and on. I know it's hard to like put 25 years into words in a setting like this, but I guess what has it just meant to you to be a part of almost the entire history of the UFC and how far it has come?
Well, thank you for your words. You know, it's amazing because when I got into the sport, it was a spectacle, you know, as we all know. And it went from spectacle to mainstream sports. It's been just an uphill rocket ship adventure with a first class seat, you know, went through the rough times, the great times. When I got in, we were the fastest growing pay-per-view in history at that time. And then we went down the tube when the whole witch hunt and everything happened, you know, with Senator McCain, who I respect tremendously, but he, you know, he called us human cockfighting. We were taken off in demand, and we were kept alive by the fans, kept alive by direct TV on a fraction of the TVs available that we used to be on. And the internet and the fans kept us alive, you know. And then the godsend was when Dana White and the Fertittas bought the UFC back in '99. And when I first met with them after doing a show, I remember, as an example, when Kevin Randleman slipped on a pole in the back walking out for the main event, knocked himself out, and I have to announce to the smallest crowd we ever had of about 12 or 1,500 people in Louisiana that there was no main event, and it was can and bottle time, you know, coming into the octagon, whatever the case might be. And we go from that point to the point where the Fertittas took it over, and I realized their vision, their passion, Dana's passion, which is amazing. You know, he's still got the same passion, if not stronger than ever. And then the Ultimate Fighter happened. Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, another benchmark that brought us over. We made Spike. Spike TV made us. We go to Fox. We go to ESPN. You know, it's just a constant rocket ship. And it benefits everybody behind us, all the other MMA organizations. You know, everybody has a right to be successful. Everybody has a right to do their business. And but the UFC is the Kleenex of the tissue and the Xerox of the copier. And that's the one that you want to see succeed. You want to see it going. It's the NFL. And it's just got so much excitement, you know, culminating into this weekend show with these three amazing championship fights. Aside from the undercard, you know, we got 15 fights on this card. Hope we don't lose any. But it's, you know, it's a hell of a night. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive card, like you said. And, you know, considering what the UFC was able to accomplish in 2020 with the pandemic, 2021 has been really fascinating, right? With the ABC card and Max Holloway's ridiculous performance and Dustin Poirier's win over Conor McGregor. Yeah. We saw Kamaru Usman take another step towards like all-time status. This has been a pretty fast and furious start to the year from a storyline perspective, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, if you analyze last year during the COVID pandemic, which we're in now, we've had so many great shows. And then if you take it 2021 from the beginning, every show's been just awesome. Even the fight nights have been just consistently really, really excellent. Last weekend show, some amazing, exciting fights. Great up-and-coming contenders, great up-and-coming fighters to become contenders. There's just so much excitement going on. I mean, I have to remind myself of all the people that I work with. I forget more than I can remember. There's so much going on.
So you'll be front and center Saturday, UFC 259. I mean, it's just so good. It's so loaded. Main event, of course, for the light heavyweight title between Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion. We sort of laid out like a few of those pivotal moments in UFC history. Israel Adesanya has a big opportunity to sort of just add himself to that list if he can beat Jan Blachowicz on Saturday night, which is a pretty tall task. But what have you made of Adesanya's meteoric rise in the UFC and the opportunity in front of him this weekend?
You know, Adesanya is a very special cat and very cool cat and very highly skilled fighter, very marketable. He's got the whole 9 yards, the whole 360-degree picture of what it takes to be a marketable champion. And he's proven himself to be fantastic. You know, it's last bout out with Paulo, and I read about the wine thing yesterday. It's like, I don't even want to comment. It's like, I love Paulo, but come on, Paulo. The night before your fight and you're downing wine, I hope you should have got a good one. Get a Rothschild. Spend $200 on a bottle so you don't wake up with a hangover. But anyway, whatever happened. I was very surprised when I read that the other day. Adesanya is there. Every 5 or 10 years, maybe 3 years or so, give or take, somebody comes along with what I call the it factor. Okay. Ronda had the it factor. Conor, of course, has the it factor. Anderson Silva had the it factor. Go on and on. Okay. Adesanya has the it factor. He has the it factor where he could culminate into a situation 10 years from now where I'll do something for him that I've only done for 2 fighters, and that's bow to him, right? It's very possible, but he's got to get through the toughest opponent of his career, and that's Juan, Blachowicz. He's the toughest guy, and not toughest guy. They're all tough. Don't get me wrong. But this, I think, is a true test for Israel, as every fight is a true test for every fighter. But this is a tough go Saturday night. There's no guarantees in this. Israel still carrying his O undefeated. If he continues on that way, I always said there would never be an undefeated fighter in the octagon, although I think Khabib Nurmagomedov will be the first one, potentially. And Israel Adesanya potentially has this trail to follow himself. But it's a constant test. Each fight is a constant test. There's no guarantees in this game. And in the words of our great sport of football, anybody can win on any given day. No question.
That's a perfect segue, because on the other side of the octagon, you get Jan Blachowicz, who has been an amazing story in his own right. Like a guy, like if you told me 4 years ago that Jan Blachowicz would be the UFC light heavyweight champion in 2020, I would have looked at you a little silly. I mean, he had lost 4 or 5 like 4 years ago, but man, has he turned things around, and now he's the world champion. You love these stories in sports, Bruce, and he's a man who doesn't go out there and necessarily demand respect. He thrives in the underdog spot, but he can turn that narrative around in a big way if he beats a guy like Adesanya. But do you feel like Blachowicz is being a bit overlooked in the spot because of the hype surrounding Adesanya?
Potentially, depending on who's looking at it. If you have a trained eye like you do or I do, I don't think so. We look at it for what it is. We see it for exactly what it is. But if you look at the fans and they're looking at the fanfare and the glorious activity that Israel brings to the octagon, walking in and walking out and inside, it's a total show all the way around. He shines maybe in the eyes of your fan out there, right? Who's not a complete guy living, eating, and breathing MMA like you do every day, right? So you're going to see it the way you see it. But Blachowicz, when I look at him, I think of Dustin Poirier. Look at Dustin Poirier and the transition and the progression of his career, coming off losses and now having such a long career and fighting the way he's fighting now, better than he's ever fought. One of the best fighters, or the best fighter in his division, being the champion, taking Conor out the way he did in that last fight that he was in. There's always room for improvement. This is a very tough game. Mixed martial arts. Years of training you need to get good at this and get to the point that you're at, where these gentlemen are at, walking in. And no matter your losses in the past or whatever, you always have a right and always have a reason to improve, to become better than ever. And that's what we're seeing in Blachowicz. It's happening there. Israel's got a real task ahead of him. Jan's got a real task ahead of him. They both got a task ahead of them. It's going to be a war,
It's a great fight. And one of those names could be sort of added to that super elite list on Saturday night. But one name that's already on that list is Amanda Nunes. She defends her featherweight title against Megan Anderson in the co-main event. As expected, Amanda, massive favorite. She has earned that right throughout her illustrious career. But I'm curious, from your perspective, what has it been like for you sort of watching her evolution from this dangerous contender to all of a sudden one of the greatest to ever step foot in the octagon?
It's been one of the most pleasurable things I've watched. I'm a big fan of Amanda. She's a friend. I like Amanda. We're talking about a true octagon warrior, as everybody is that steps in there. But in Amanda's case, the story behind Amanda, coming from Brazil, sleeping on the floor of a gym, no money, getting to the point where she's at now in her life, married to her partner. She has a child now. There's so much for her to fight for, more than ever. The Amanda Nunes we see walking that octagon on Saturday night could be the hungriest Amanda Nunes we've ever seen, because she has so much more on her plate now with her child and her relationship and everything going on, and her want to maintain her status and become the GOAT of the women's, division. So with that being said, right now, Amanda Nunes in my mind is the greatest female fighter currently fighting in the world. Her record proves it. Megan Anderson She's got another task ahead of her, as Amanda does. Megan Anderson's no slouch. This is not an easy fight. This is another fight that is almost on the same level as Israel and Jan, in the fact of these two very qualified contender and champion going at each other. It's just this night blows me away. It's amazing. I'm going to sleep 12 hours before this day. I want to make sure I'm totally ready for this one.
You gonna knock out some deadlifts in the garage beforehand? I mean, do you have to do that Thursday?
The deadlifts will happen on Friday before I leave for Vegas. I'll do my training set. I train like an animal when I can, but believe me, I have a routine in my room before I get the tuxedo on, before I shower and get the tuxedo on. I make sure I'm ready to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad you kind of shown that light on Megan Anderson, because with her, the physical was never really the issue with her. It was always like the mental aspect of her game, the belief in herself, separating herself from the social media negativity. That was always a big question mark with her. And she seems to have addressed that. She's in a great place. And I'm not sitting here saying Megan Anderson's going to beat Amanda Nunes on Saturday, but I believe with her physical stature, her head being in the right place, a tremendous coach in James Krause, who in my opinion does not get enough credit for how good he is with these fighters.
Sleeping giant of a trainer. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sleeping giant of a trainer.
I feel like she could give Amanda more problems than people think, Bruce. And people think I'm crazy, but I have a feel. I think she can hang. I do. I really do.
No, you're not crazy. You know fights. You understand. You're talking totally sensibly. I mean, listen, I don't care how much ability you have. If you're mentally not ready walking in that octagon, much less a boxing ring, much less going out in that street and taking somebody out there, okay, you're losing, before you walk in. Now, hopefully you can get it back and win the fight when it happens. But the mental aspect of walking in that fight, that's like half the game right there. So that has to be strong for everybody, whether you're Israel, Megan. Look at the thing we're kidding a little bit about with, my buddy Paulo. I'm not putting Paulo down. I think Paulo's an amazing fighter, just still don't get it. But, this is a mental game. You've got to be prepared, and you've got to be disciplined, and you've got to be ready to rock and roll, right? And put your blood, sweat, and tears and life on the line to win this fight. And that's what it takes. And if you're less than 100%, well, then anything can happen. So if Megan, I wasn't aware of that or whatever, but if that's an issue with Megan, then it's a matter how strong her mind is, because body-wise and talent-wise, she could be she will be a very, very, very tough opponent for Amanda.
I agree. I got goosebumps just talking about those two fights, but the goosebumps are about to grow because I am so fascinated by Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, Bruce Buffer. This is as good as it gets from a competitive standpoint. Yan's first title defense since stopping Jose Aldo last summer, and this title shot for Aljo has been a long time coming. This is high-level martial arts potential at its very best, Bruce, is it not?
It is, because you're dealing with two bantamweight fighters that do have knockout power in their hands to knock each other out. They're going to be like two Tasmanian devils, spinning around, going at it inside the octagon. And, you're going from bantamweight to featherweight to light heavyweight. We're getting everything that we love as UFC MMA fans on Saturday night. And honestly, if you're a UFC fan and you're not watching this show on Saturday night, I just have something to say to you. You're not a UFC fan. If you're not getting married, or it's the birthday or the 50th anniversary of your parents' party, whatever, what should you be doing on Saturday night? You should be watching this pay-per-view. This says everything we want. I mean, the undercard alone is crazy,
15 fights, like you said, on Saturday.
Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully it stays that way.
I mean, they're all really fascinating from start to finish, but there's unique storylines to all of them. But is there a certain fight on this card that's caught your eye that may not be getting the attention that it deserves?
Dominic Cruz is always somebody you want to watch, right? Dominic Cruz, the warrior that he has, been in the game as long as he has, dealt with everything he's dealt with in his career. He's coming up against tough opponent Casey Kenny, and that's the last fight on the undercard before the main event, the pay-per-view, and that's going to be a very exciting fight. But, Joseph Benavidez is coming back and fighting on Saturday night, and Joseph is a very highly skilled fighter. He's fought for the championship. He's going against the number 3 contender in Askar Askanov, and pardon me if I get any names wrong, I'll get them right on Saturday night. But, very tough fights. Kai Kara France, okay? I love watching Kai Kara France fight. Rogerio that he's fighting, right, in the flyweight division. And we've got light heavyweights, we got flyweights, we got welterweights. It's almost the entire card represents the entire roster of potential of the UFC. So a lot of these are on my radar. Thiago Santos and Alexander Rakic. It's like Drew Dober. I mean, come on, Drew Dober's coming in. He's got to defend himself. I think he lost his last fight, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got a real tough opponent, Makhachev. So I don't see one fight here that I will not be glued to. I got to tell you, one of the pleasures of being COVID and quarantined and everything we're going through, I walk out of the octagon about 10 feet away from the octagon, and I'm at a table by myself. And it's, instead of signing 500 autographs and 500 pictures or whatever it is a night, which I love to do because I love the fans. I miss the fans. They're the greatest sports fans in the world. I'm telling everybody listening, I love you MMA fans. I miss you. You'll be back soon, I'm sure. But I get to relax. I get to watch the fights, more so than ever. I'm just a kid in a candy store. You got to remember, I'm a fan first and an announcer second. So I'm driving to Vegas, and I can't wait to get there and just enjoy this evening for all it has to offer.
Absolutely. Hopefully for those watching this right now who will be tuning in on Saturday, maybe this would have helped Paulo Costa against Israel Adesanya. If he, instead of drinking the wine, maybe he should have drank some Puncher's Chance bourbon, Bruce Buffer.
There you go.
You've checked yourself into the whiskey game, my man. This is exciting stuff. I'm curious, how did you get involved with this? And, it's hard to describe a taste in one of these settings, but why should folks give it the old Puncher's Chance, pun completely intended?
Well, thank you for bringing it up. But, this is my bourbon, Puncher's Chance. I've worked over a year bringing this out with my partners who were behind Skinny Girl, if you ever heard of that. They were behind Cabo Wabo, Sammy Hagar's Tequila, Campari. I have some dynamite partners. And our distilleries in Kentucky, we've got 500,000 plus barrels of the finest bourbon ready to go that we're going to market over the next 5+ years. We just got a 9.5 out of 10 taste rating from the tasting board, which basically critiques all the liquor spirits that are coming out. It's the highest rated bourbon in America at its price range right now. It's selling like hotcakes, the fastest selling new bourbon out of the gate. I'm very proud of it. But what happened is that I have a number of products coming out. I have my own line of toiletries and the It's Time cologne that's coming out in a month. That'll be all over the world. You'll walk in airports and you're going to see pictures of me and the cologne. It's like, here's Matthew McConaughey and there's Julia Roberts and their cologne and perfume. And it's like, I'm just going to fall on the floor and start laughing my ass off. Okay. It's like, really? But it's really incredible toiletries. I do nothing unless it's first class. I won't do it. Either I believe in the products that I represent and I'm a product of the products I represent, or I do not represent. I turn down deals all the time. But with that coming out and my line of energy products that'll be coming out all over the world, drinks, bars, shots, this is a big deal. But I'm actually making announcements I shouldn't make on your show. But getting back to Puncher's Chance, with all the products I have in my list that I'm going to be coming out with, I've had a spirit on my list for like 10 years. I was approached for a tequila. I was approached for a rum called cachaça out of Brazil, which I almost did. But I'm about proper business, solid business acumen, and great quality products. And I did not care for the business acumen of the people that were coming to the table with the deal. And I was not happy with the product. There's too many tequilas out there, unless you're The Rock and your brand will make it go over the moon as soon as you get out of the gate. And, love The Rock. Dwayne's great. So it's all about marketing. And I'm a marketer and brander first and foremost before I do anything. So I really take a hard look at these things. But with Puncher's Chance, when I met my partners, Umberto and Brad, and their history, their pedigree, everything they've done, their success. And then when I saw the name Puncher's Chance, like, oh my God. And everything, like the admonition on the bottle, when you get a bottle and you read the admonition, you'll see it. It's like, it's all about how one punch can change your life, how it's all about the underdog. And I've been an underdog my entire life. I've gone into business things where people tell me, including my family, what are you doing? Why are you, like when I took over the management of my brother, I sold 2 companies. I was making great money back in 94. I don't talk dollars, but I was making great money. I had a life of Riley, but I was burned out. I was burned out on my business. And I'm all about passion. I'm all about waking up in the morning to live a lifestyle, not go to work. So I sold both companies, gave up everything I had, quit with the money in the bank to manage my brother's career against all odds, shall we say. And we all know what happened with that and Michael's glorious career. And then my getting into the octagon, which was a 1.5-year battle on my end to even get there, which is a whole nother story in itself. So it's all about winning, and it's all about being the best you can be in life. As I say on my podcast, step on that path to be the best you can be, and then you're winning. Whether you're number 1 or number 2, if you're the best you can be, then you're winning. So when I saw this combination of the Puncher's Chance, the design of the bottle, which we have made in France, we have very made special, very elaborate bottles. And when I tasted it and realized, oh my God, this is amazing. It's the finest tasting bourbon. It's so good. It mixes so well. It was a home run. A total home run. So we just went for it. We came out in September, and usually your average craft distributor, when they start distributing products, they're lucky to maybe sell 3,800 cases in the first year. of their liquor or spirit. We moved 10,000 cases in the first 3 months, right? We're targeted for maybe 35,000 cases this year, which will make us the fastest growing bourbon in America. So I'm all about attaining goals and titles, and whether it's fighting or not, life and fighting are very similar. Okay. The mental aspects, as we get back to mental, are very similar. You have to be prepared to get in the game. I'm so prepared for this game. It's going so well. And the response is tremendous. People love it. So very happy.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like with you, we've seen you on the World Series of Poker, so we know you like to fling some cards around, and you're a little bit of a gambling man. But at the same time, I feel like you have like tremendous foresight on like what's going on in the world, because we've seen like the entrepreneurial spirit blow up over the last 4 or 5 years with like Shark Tank and some of the other things that have spun off of that. But I feel like you were a little bit ahead of the game when it came to that. Like you had these plans in place. You're just looking for the right opportunities to present themselves. Is that like kind of the right way to look at it? Like you have the gambling spirit, but you also kind of saw something coming in a strange way that sort of took off the spirit pre-pandemic too, but just this kind of foresight of where this world was going to go. You know what I mean?
Yes. I approach life like chess. I always think 3 steps ahead. So everything that's happened in my career in MMA and the UFC, everything that happened with my brother and the marketing, trademark, and then marketing and building the Let's Get Ready to Rumble brand into a $500 million brand that it is. It all started from zero, but it's all gone according to schedule, as they say in England. If you ever heard that term, going according to schedule. So everything is a plot and plan. Everything is about timing. It's all about, as the saying goes, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. Hold, shoot, right? Had I come out with Puncher's Chance 3 years ago, I don't think it would have been the same. So it's a matter of when to come out with it. Had I done certain things with my brother, it probably would have had the effect that it had when I did do them. So it's all about having the foresight to see it and stick to it and plan it out. And again, having passion for what you're doing, because getting like Rocky says, when you get knocked to the canvas, whether in a fight or whether in life, you got to get up, move forward stronger, and punch harder. And that's the way I am. So the plot and plan is there. I see it, I look at it, and I live it, and I call it lifestyle. I wake up in the morning to fulfill my passions, and I work my ass off. I work a lot. Okay. Not just announcing UFC. We all see me do that. That's my Saturday night, Boy Scouts go to camp job. So I love that. But during the week, I'm just jamming, so I'm jamming on things that I'm passionate about. And Puncher's Chance is one of them, as well as the other products that I mentioned to you, as well as managing my brother, as well as my beloved UFC. And I'm not going to bore you with all the other things that I do. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well, there is one other thing I do want to mention, because with things starting to open up a little bit, I know here in Massachusetts, like we're starting to open things up to have, bigger groups, weddings, receptions, et cetera. And, for those around the globe ready to tie the knot, have a podcast, anything going on around the world, they can get themselves something custom made from you, a voiceover, anything like that. So, it's been a crazy year, but we seem to be inching towards the other side right now. So I have a feeling like your requests are going to open up a little bit. How can people get in touch with you for stuff like that? Because, you listen to MMA podcasts, people like to go to you for those intros and stuff.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. What happened was, it was about 4 years ago or so. It was a Christmas. And my partner, Kristen, my VP and my partner, she and I started a little thing for Christmas, making a championship introduction off my website, which is brucebuffer.com, where you can go fill out the order form for $99, get an audio introduction, like you're being introduced as a champion in the octagon, right? Or in the champion to the world, or a video, which we charge little compared to what people throw at me. And we give partial proceeds to animal, children, and military charities. So we just did this one Christmas to do a special, but we got so many orders and we got so many responses. The thank you notes were bringing tears to our eyes. It was like incredible. And then I did Michael Bisping's wedding, which went viral. When I just stepped out of his wedding to introduce him, suddenly I'm getting wedding requests, birth of babies, it's championship intros, bar mitzvahs, eulogies for when I die. It's like some of the requests that come in are just crazy. But we fulfill them all. And just go to brucebuffer.com. I'm on Cameo. Cameo is that very popular app. I film tons of cameos. And either way, cameos are for personal usage only, but business-wise or podcast introductions or whatever, just write me write me at brucebuffer.com. Kristen will probably be the one to respond. We'll be the one to respond. And we get all these done for you, whether it's videos, audios, you name it. After this, I think we have like 12 to film today. just this afternoon. It's a thriving business. And when, and I still continue to donate the money to military, animal, and children's charities. But during the pandemic, life is all about adapting. You have to adapt to life, whether it's social media, which is such a big part of business now, which takes a lot of time, but it's part of business now. And during the pandemic, I was thinking, okay, well, I don't want business to fall. I want business to grow. So I switched things around and increased our business, threefold, just with that for many different things. I even do motivational branding and marketing. The people set meetings with me, Zoom and Skype, like we're doing now, and whatever it takes. We can't be there in person. We're in a pandemic. So you have to adapt to figure out ways to run your business. And that's
well
what I
said.
do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can learn from this. Last thing, you don't have to give it all away, but can you paint us a somewhat word picture of what the wardrobe ensemble is going to look like on Saturday?
Just came in yesterday, my man, and I think it's going to blow everybody away. I'm not going to give you any hints. Okay.
Fair enough.
I will tell you, it is the month of St. Patrick's Day. How's that?
I had a feeling.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Yeah. In respect to the Irish out there, I maybe added a little flair to the jacket, so we'll just leave it at that.
See, that's worth the $70 right there, ladies and gentlemen. Find out what Bruce's jacket's going to look like. But
I never thought I'd become a fashionista. I remember I did a jacket in Abu Dhabi the last trip, and suddenly the UK Sun is calling me a fashion icon and this and that. It's like, great. Enjoy it. Thanks to my tailors, my exclusive tailors at King and Bay in Toronto. If anybody's interested in dressing like me, or not like me, but quality suits, tuxedos, go to at my King and Bay on Instagram or social media, or King and Bay on the web. They will size you and deliver you any suit. Tell them Buff sent you, and you'll get a great discount price because they're just amazing. I've had tailors before, like David August. I was the first one to wear David August suits in the Octagon. Spent a tremendous amount of money with him on different suits, which I loved. He's a master tailor. And then I moved on to King and Bay. And David August is the one that does Conor McGregor suits.
That's right.
Which was after me.
That's right. You planted the seeds for.
I told Conor when I saw him one day when he had his dad's suit on, I go, Conor, you need to get your suit is great. You look so good. You got to talk to David August and get yourself some nice suits, right? Well, he listened, I guess.
I hope he gave you a little commission on that.
No, it's okay. That's Conor's decision. No, it's okay if he wants to. Go ahead and send me a check, Conor. But I don't think that was the reason. He made his own decision. It's good.
Yes. I think I like the way you blend sort of like the new style and then you go back to like kind of the old style with the black, like the simple classic black look. I dig that. I like when that happens. Yeah.
It's my classic James Bond suit. It's just, who didn't want to be James Bond when they were kids? So the classic black tuxedo, white shirt, black tie, it'll never die. It's always the thing to wear. Definitely.
Completely agree. You are the man, Bruce. Look forward to you firing us all up on Saturday. All the best to you. And once again, congratulations on 25 years, an incredible accomplishment.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate your kind words during this interview. I really mean that. I want to invite everybody though to come on YouTube, subscribe to my podcast. I just started it back on video a few months ago. And of course we have the audio wherever podcasts are heard, but we got some great shows. It's a lifestyle show. I'll have actors and MMA stars and, different walks of life. Last week I had the top guy in sports collecting in the country talking about this massive move and where sports memorabilia is going and how things are increasing 50, 100% a month in some areas, like Michael Jordan's rookie cars and 86 Fleer and all this kind of stuff, and just gave a little investment advice. So we switch it up. We do a lot of different things. But please come listen to the podcast. And I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. It's very enjoyable. And I like your memorabilia, man. That's very cool. I'm jealous.
Got Dempsey, Johnson, the whole clan's behind me. This is great.
My grandfather was the champion of the world in 1921. He was the bantamweight flyweight champ. Johnny Buff. He's in the books.
Oh man, I wonder if he's back there. I got to take a look. Maybe I'll dig deep. He might be.
Never know. Bert Sugar, before he passed away, called him the greatest fighter of 1921. Boxer.
Now you're going to get me going down a rabbit hole, Bruce, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
That's okay. There's not much in the history books in relationship of me to him. It's just, I know this from growing up with my dad. My dad was quite the amazing, charismatic guy. You walk in a room, guys didn't want to meet him, have a drink with him or fight him, girls want to meet him or whatever. But it's like, he just had this amazing charisma, but quite a man to grow up with. I owe who I am to my dad and my mom. I'm very lucky to have had a very fine upbringing with amazing parents, which, I wish that on everybody. I wish everybody a good family life.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Got to start with a solid base to create your future.